Sweet, salty, semi-healthy? Of course, let's make some. For this baked chocolate dip granola treat, we'll be using my basic baked granola recipe. That recipe is actually in another one of my videos. But we're going to start with 4 cups of oats. I'm using quick oats today. This recipe calls for 3 cups of nuts, but you can use any variation of ingredients as long as it equals 3 cups. Today I'm using half a cup of cherries, half a cup of pumpkin seeds, a cup of cashews, and a cup of almonds, slightly chopped, some are whole. Again, you can use any nut seeds you want, just make sure it's about 3 cups. I'm going to add a tablespoon of cinnamon, and then I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of salt. In my recipe, I like to use coconut brown sugar instead of regular brown sugar. I love the taste of it, and it gives me a looser granola, but you can also substitute a 4th cup of brown sugar instead of brown coconut sugar. Go ahead and give those dry ingredients a good mix. You'll mix it better when you add the wet ingredients, but get it all incorporated in there. While you're stirring, go ahead and melt a stick of butter. If you choose not to use butter, you can use about a 1/3 cup of coconut oil. I love butter. I like the taste and I like the texture it gives to the oatmeal. Now we're going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of vanilla to your heart content. What's really a teaspoon of vanilla? And now adding in half a cup of honey. I add the honey in the same measuring cup I melted the butter in to help the honey come out of the measuring cup. So much simpler. And now it's time to stir this all together. Now you want to stir it really good. Make sure everything is well coated. Make sure all the ingredients are mixed in there very well. All your sugars, your cinnamon and salt. Make sure butter is coating every bit of it so it bakes up evenly. I like to mix mine in a glass bowl so I can see any spots that it not get touched with the butter or other ingredients. That way I know it's fully incorporated. That's just what I like to do. You can use any bowl you like, but just make sure everything is covered. Go ahead and preheat your oven to 300 degrees, and you're going to line a baking sheet with parchment paper. We're going to lay out the granola on the parchment paper. Now you want it spread in a thin layer evenly across the pan. You want it all touching. You don't want any holes or gaps, so you want to move it to the edges and then make sure there's no deep spots in the middle. So you want everything in one single layer pressed out and everything touching. You don't want anything not touching, or you'll just have crumbly oatmeal through the whole thing and it won't stick together at all. Now, do I mind crumbly oatmeal? No, I actually prefer it. That's how I like to eat mine as a snack. But for the purpose of this recipe, make sure all items are touching all the way up to the edge of the pan, and we won't have any problems. Now that it's all pressed in nicely, we're going to go ahead and add this to the oven. This is going to go in for 30 minutes. Of course, time may vary because it's your kitchen, it's your altitude, it's your oven. But while it's in the oven, we're going to prepare for the next step. So I'm just going to line my muffin tin with cupcake liners. I'm not going to fill all these today, but this is the only muffin tin I have because I usually bake double and triple batches. So don't mind the empty spots when that comes up later. I was planning for it, but if you want to make more, you do that. Now that the tin is all lined, it is time to prepare the chocolate. This is just baking chocolate, a bar. This one is semi-sweet. I was going to do bittersweet. I might do bittersweet next time. But for today, we're going to use semi-sweet. And I'm just going to break it up into smaller chunks. Now you can do this with a double boiler, but I'm just going to use the microwave method because it's only 1 bar and it's going to be easy. For this 1 bar, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of coconut oil, maybe 2. And that's going to go in the microwave, and I'm going to check it every 30 seconds. It seems like you need longer, but it only took a little over a minute. It didn't take a full 130. This is after the first 30 seconds, and this is after in the middle of the third. So it doesn't take it that long at all. And you want to stir it so it's nice and smooth, not too thick and not too thin. We're now just going to add the chocolate to the bottom of the cupcake liners. Once you put it in there, you can always move it around and make sure the whole bottom is covered. I'm only doing a small amount. Next time, I think I'm going to add more chocolate, and then I'm going to have some for chocolate drizzle on the top. But for right now, we're just going to put some in there and we're going to move it around so the bottom is covered. Do that till all your desired muffin tins are full with chocolate on the bottom. Next time I may even do a peanut butter bottom or a cashew butter bottom. It's almost the same concept, but with just nut butters instead of chocolate. About 10 minutes into baking, you want to go in and stir your granola, and then you're going to lay it right back flat out and you're going to press it back down to each other, against each other again. But you want to make sure it's baking evenly throughout the entire granola. When it's time to take it out, you can always touch it to see if it's firm. It doesn't have to be super crispy. The edges should be a light brown, but it will get crispier as it cools down. So if you want it super crispy, just let it cool down and it'll work out fine. For this next step, I do not need it cool though. So I am going to start at the end, just loosen it up, and I'm going to put some granola in the cups while it's still hot so I can still press it together and it sticks to each other. I need to do it while it's hot because I need it to form that solid disc. So after I scoop it in while it's still hot, I'm going to press it in to make sure it's pressed down into the chocolate very, very well. You can do this with a smaller spoon, but I found that just using my hands makes it easier to make sure everything is formed together. So when it's time to cool it, it'll be one solid disc. I'm going to pop those in the fridge and let them cool in the chocolate set. The rest, after it's cooled, I am going to place in this half-gallon jar for storage. It took about 30-35 minutes for it to cool properly. Now I'm just going to go ahead and place it in the jar. I use the coconut brown sugar, so it does crumble more than if you would use regular brown sugar, but that's how I prefer it because it's easier to put on yogurt and things like that. But you can also grab big chunks if you want a snack. After the chocolate has set, you can pull it out and look at it, and boy, does that look good. Next time, I think I'm going to add a little bit more chocolate, and I'm definitely doing the chocolate drizzle on top because the way they taste now, I know that's going to be so good. And you can store these in the fridge with the liner paper just to make sure that the chocolate stays nice and firm and you don't have any issues with it melting. So if you're looking for a sweet, salty, semi-healthy snack, may I suggest these chocolate dipped baked granola cups. And if you like this video, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.